Y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Portia Sterling, and if you're here, you're in for a pretty interesting topic today. Well, I think it's interesting, so hopefully you think the same thing. But if you've seen any of my videos or if you know who I am, then you know that I'm an author, I'm a writer, and I write for purposes of healing, but also to just kind of like find out more about myself or find out more about people around me and to understand the world in a different way. And recently, as I was working on my book that I'm currently kind of like diving into the beginning of, something came across my path. I'll just say that. Like, I met someone that kind of had me thinking about things in a different way as far as like relationships and marriage and all of that is concerned. And it's a friend of mine. Well, she's, yeah, like a new friend. And it was just something that she said that kind of sparked an idea or a consideration that helped me to like, well, basically, I decided since I couldn't quite figure it out that it would be the perfect thing to bring into my book that I'm working on. So, I mean, basically, so we were having this conversation. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to just like put somebody's business out there. And we are both single, so we were talking about like the whole dating process, and she was expressing like the stress that she was having with this particular person that she liked, but she knew that there was certain things that she knew that, like certain qualities he had or certain opinions that he had that she was just like, this is not somebody that I could see myself marrying. But she really liked hanging with him. He's a really good guy. It's just, there was just that one area of disconnect, and for that reason she was just like, oh, I'm just gonna have to like drop this person, and you know, it sucks because I really like him. And I just was like, I guess for me, I was just like, you met this guy, he's a great guy, y'all have fun hanging out, you have a lot of likes and things in common, you have fun together, you have great conversation, all of this stuff. But there was like one thing, and I don't think she'll mind me saying this, but it was like something about like children and having children and how they'll be raising their children and the different belief systems and all of that they just didn't see eye to eye with. And for that reason, she was just like, well, I'm just not gonna date him. And she was like, you know, I just have to cut off this relationship. And it made me think about the pressure that we have in dating to just make something be forever. Like if you're dating somebody or if you're in a relationship with somebody, there's this continuous like pressure of, oh, it has to go somewhere, it has to end in marriage, or like, what's the point? Instead of just kind of like releasing that pressure and enjoying the moment that you know, have with that person and enjoying the experience, and maybe even learning more about yourself and what you want for the future based off of your interaction with this person, and then just releasing the end goal and just moving on when one of you feels like it's time to move on. And when I posed that idea to her, she had like so much fear. Like I could see it in her eyes. Like she had this fear of like, well, you know, I don't want to like fall for somebody and feel all of these strong emotions for somebody when I know that it's inevitable that it will end. And I guess me being like a person that's been married and divorced, I was like, you never really have a guarantee that things will last forever. Like multiple things happen. People fall in and out of love. People can't get along. People find, they change. Like, we all change over time, and maybe they grow apart. Maybe someone dies, like, God forbid, or just there's all kinds of reasons why things don't work out, and all of it is beyond your control. So I was just like, well, why can't you just kind of live in the moment and just be okay with what it is that is coming up for you? Enjoy this, learn from it, grow from it, learn more about yourself and what you might actually want in a partner, because it might be different from, and who knows, maybe, love is huge. So many instances that, people fall in love with people and then they're like, oh, I never thought I would do this, but for this person, I will. So it's just like having all of that at the beginning of something. Like, she's only known this guy for, I don't even think it's been 90 days. Like, even when you get a job, they give you like 90 days probation to see if it's gonna work out. So it's like, all of this stuff, this heavy lifetime stuff at the beginning can kind of like suffocate what something could be right in, But I do also understand that as women, as we get older, we are working against like a biological clock, and we do have a limited time of doing something. So I get that, but I guess the question is, if you haven't run across that person that makes you actually feel like, hey, this is my forever person, like, what's the danger in at least just keeping it casual and hanging out and dating, or someone that may not be it until you like find or stumble upon that person that is it, and then you can just end the other thing in grace and move on. And it was so interesting, this conversation, because it brought up her beliefs that I think to me were, and she would agree because she said it during this conversation, that these were outdated beliefs, that it's like either you date to marry or you don't date at all. Like, she had this core belief, and I guess it was from religious upbringing, which we both have that in common, that you're dating someone with the expectation that this could be your husband, and if he's not your husband, then you don't deal with him and you wait and you date. You're either single or dating someone you will be marrying. And I was just like, there's so many different types of relationships now that's not even true. Like, before it was either you're single or courting or married, and people are doing so many different things now, which led me to my next thought, because we actually started researching all these different types of relationships, and there's like 10 different ones, which is crazy. So for all of you who are like me and did not have any idea that there's like 10 different relationship styles in this modern time that we live in, I'm going to list them off and describe them. And how I came about them is while we were trying to figure this out, I saw a video by Shan Booty, and she was like going through all these different type of relationship styles, and she like described them, and I just was like, whoa. And she had actual couples that were living these different relationships speak about it. So it's a really good video. If I can find the link, I'll link it in the description. But so the first was casual dating. So this is like low stakes vibes only, just you're casually dating whoever. You don't have to be like sexually intimate with all of these people. I mean, it's up to you, but basically you're just vibes. Like, this is a cool person to hang out with. I'm hanging out with these people. Then there's the serial non-committed dating. So this is someone who's forever dating different people without the desire of depth. So, casual dating, I think, is like we're dating casually just to see where this may end up. The serial non-committed dater is the person that knows that they don't want it to end up anywhere but like where it is. They may not have time for anything else, or they may not want to commit to anything more. They just want the fun of the moment with multiple different people. And there was the traditional monogamous, which is where we both fell for the majority of our early life, at least. where it's just one partner, one goal, marriage and legacy. So one person at a time, and you're with that one person trying to figure out, is this the person I'm going to get married to? And you either marry that person, or once you realize, I don't want to marry this person, you end it, and then you're on your search again for the next person that you think you might marry. Modern monogamy is where you're still exclusive, like the one partner thing, but there's flexibility and negotiation. So it's like one person, one goal to be together and to possibly be married. But if it's not working, then we just decide, hey, it's not working, and we move on. Or there's the flexibility and negotiation as far as like, maybe we might be okay with having, opposite, like, or people of the opposite sex that we hang out with, but not in a sexual way or with any intimate or flirting going on. Maybe it's just like, we just are open to that. So there's that flexibility to engage with different people. Traditional monogamists usually don't do this. They're usually the ones that are like, once we are together, there's no more friends of the opposite sex. It's just our friends, and that's it. Then there was monogamish, where it's like we're technically together, but space is respected. So if I or the person decides, hey, we're going to like explore something with someone else, then we set the rules on that. Like it may or may not be sexual. It just depends on what the people in the relationship decide to do. Then there was the open relationship, which I think a lot of people have heard of already, where you love one person, but you're open to exploring others. Consent obviously is expected, but when you get into the relationship, the expectation at the beginning is that we will be seeing other people and dealing with other people in a sexual way. Like you already have that understanding right up front. Like your main relationship is the priority, and that might be the person you live with or, build a life with, but you do have these other satellite relationships going on, coming in and out during the time y'all are together. Free relationship, that is the thing. It's just no rules at all, just vibes, just, it's a therapeutic, I guess, relationship is what the people that were in that described it as. Like you have your person where you're committed to them, but other than that, you do whatever you want. And, you just have a lot of communication with your partner about what's going on, but there's no judgment. You let the person be who they are, and you trust, I guess, that is okay with you, I guess. Yeah. She mentioned moonlighting, which is another word that she decided to use for swinging, which is, you're a committed couple, but you have recreational play with other couples. Asexuality is a person that likes emotional closeness with other people without sexual exploration. So yeah, she had someone on there that was speaking about that, where she really liked to go really deep with people in an emotional way, but never sexually. And once that relationship that she had with the person got to the point where they wanted something more sexual, she was okay with just being like, okay, well, our time is done and you can go ahead and explore something else. I guess this would be like a lot of people that are like celibate, they might do this until they stumble upon a partner that wants to move it to the next phase of marriage if they desire. Like maybe they'll have, so I feel like some of these things are like a little fluid. You might move in and out of different phases of relationships based off of where you are in your life. Then of course there's polyamory, where you have multiple loves. Everyone's aware of each other. Everyone's respected. All the relationships are respected in the same way. There's no hierarchy. There's no like primary relationship. Everything is on the same, it's like an even playing field. So those are the 10 types of relationships that you didn't even know you needed a name for. I didn't even know I needed a name for those, and I didn't know that there were names for these until I saw the video. So interesting stuff. So for me, after like thinking about all these different types of relationship styles and the fact that I've kind of been in the traditional relationship style since I was like 19, like since I started dating at 19, like I've been in long-term relationships with the goal of, hey, this is going to be the person that I'm going to marry. And then I, you know, like I said, I've been married and been divorced, and in those cases, I think that there were a lot of times where I was, there's a lot of relationships where I feel like I was with a person and we were great together to up until a certain point where we realized that we had just hugely like humongous different views on certain things. And it's not always that these things are problems at the beginning, because like I said, I've kind of been in the traditional relationship style way of thinking since 19, and everybody knows that like between 19 and like 30, and as you get older, your thoughts and desires of what you want and what you feel about yourself and who you are changes drastically. So I would argue that like as you get older, like you're always kind of changing. You're getting more wants and desires, and you're becoming more of yourself as you live. So in some cases, people can work through that together, but in some cases, someone may not want to, or maybe both people may not want to, and you can't really like force something that only one person or neither person is working towards. So sometimes things just end. Even now, as I've been dating in Atlanta, like I've met a lot of different people who I'm like, oh, this person's really cool. Just like my friend, like really cool to be around, and we have a lot of fun and we have a lot of things that we have in common, but there might be something where it's just like, and it usually boils down to their vision of what marriage looks like. Like I've noticed a lot of men I've come into contact, they have a set vision of their role as a husband and what their wife should be or what they want her to be. And sometimes that clashes with what I actually want from my life. I'm a very creative person. I love to learn new things. I love to dive into new things. I love to be free to like travel. I have friends and I have family. I like to hang out with my friends and family. I don't want to be with someone where I'm like merging with him and becoming an extension of his identity. I have my own identity and I love being who I am. I love my time to myself. I love a lot of time to myself. And so as I began to think about that, I was just like, if marriage means merging, maybe in these relationships, sometimes women, as we kind of like get to the point where we love and explore things and love ourselves, maybe we're just working towards a goal that we don't really know if we fully want. Maybe you want connection and maybe not the merging into someone else's vision of what marriage should look like. But maybe you enjoy their company and maybe you just want to like date, and maybe there's nothing wrong with that. The question comes up, like, instead of asking yourself, is this my person for forever? Like, is this my forever person? Maybe asking, like, is this person fulfilling enough to be around right now? Does this connection bring peace, joy, curiosity, growth, new experiences? And, I was looking at this video of B. Simone, and she was talking about the next person that she dated. She wanted him to be her husband. And she was also talking about how, like, she viewed relationships and love to wherein she would meet someone and automatically her thought is, like, could that be my husband? Could that be my husband? And it was, I loved her interview. I loved how open and authentic and vulnerable she was with it. But as a writer, it just made me curious to explore that kind of thought process, because if you're thinking always on that level, the fact of the matter is not everybody is your husband, only one person is. And if you're only considering people that could possibly be it, and you're putting all of that pressure on that person and yourself, you set yourself up for a lot of disappointment. I wrote a blog post about the law of detachment because we're in Mercury retrograde, and I think it's good to detach from expectations when things might possibly be going the opposite way. And the law of detachment is where you can kind of pull a lot of your power back in when it comes to situations in life. I say that because with the law of detachment, it's about having a goal or a vision, but just not being so rigid about how it shows up. Sometimes if you have a goal or a vision in your life and you're super rigid about how it has to happen, you actually lose a lot of your power with kind of bringing that in, because of the fact that you start to feel helpless, because at the end of the day we can't control everything. So then you start to feel helpless about all the things that you can't control and all of the things that are going, in different directions from what you expected. So with the law of detachment, you kind of operate in the sense of like, this is the feeling that I want when I'm having these experiences. I want to feel this way. And you just say, to God, like, however you bring this in, it may not be what I expected, but I'm open to it. And so, but I'm also open to it not being what I thought it would be. So you just have this approach of openness without expectation and kind of accepting things as they come with discernment, not just accepting any old thing, like have discernment based off of your awareness of self and not being taken advantage of, and not compromising your goals and values, clearly, obviously, but just being more open and slower and just adjusting based off of what your body tells you and how you feel in the moment. And just like easing into things is a better way to go sometimes. So working on that. So based off my thoughts on all of this, I just flipped into writer mode and I started thinking about my character Nevaeh, who I'm writing about in my next series, which I already debuted the title. It's called Fallen, Sons of God. So that should give you a little bit of insight about what this romanticy novel might be about. But with Nevaeh, she is someone who is at a point in her life where she thought she knew what she wanted, and she went after that, she got it, and then she was like, this isn't exactly turning out. Like, she's looking at her life in that way, like, this isn't turning out how I thought. And I followed these rules and I did these things this way, and what is going on? And then, she started out with this goal. She started pursuing what she thought she wanted, and then by the end, she changed based off of her understanding of herself, a deeper understanding of herself and her personality and her wants and needs and her real wants and needs, without pulling in the expectations of others, including society, family, all of that. And, that's called a character arc when you're a writer and you're kind of writing how your character shifts and their personality and things, beliefs, all of that changes throughout the story. That's how you kind of develop the character arc. And that is a moment that I just went through during that whole conversation and deep diving that I was having, that started with just a discussion with a friend about dating. The most powerful character arcs that you can write as a writer for a character isn't even about like what is happening in their external world. It's about an internal process where their truth finally clicks into place. Like they might have struggled their whole life with a belief that was handed to them based off of upbringing, religion, whatever it is, and then they're stuck in a world where that belief is kind of clashing with the world they live in, the situations and experiences they had, and then their own needs as a person. And so then as a writer, you can kind of dive into the thought process and the struggle, the internal battle that leads them to face that. And then it's so interesting to then write about, like, well, who do they become on the other side once they drop that false belief and they start, their new self starts emerging. So for this, I gave her the same view as me, where she just started out very traditional, like, I have to do this and I have to date this way. I have to date with intention, and I have to ask this person on day one, where do you see yourself in 20 years? And how many kids do you want? Do you want kids? And, I had to ask this person all of these questions to see if we would be together forever. And if they don't answer them correctly, then done, on to the next one. Like, I gave her that thought process before, like, smacking her in the face with, do you actually want to be with this person for 10 to 20 years? Like, do you actually want to hang, or is this a person that you just want to hang out with in the moment? And then I wrote through shifting her point of view of how she approached people based off of not looking at them like they had to be with her until she turned 90, but just maybe they just are with me for this year or two, or in the moment, and we can just, have fun in whatever way we decide that relationship should be for the moment. And for Nevaeh, and in writing this really set the stage for how I was going to introduce her to Nasir, the guy that is her, he plays her opposite in this novel, her romantic interest, because he's kind of coming in a way where he's being forced, in a sense, to have to pursue something serious with her. And I'll give more later, but there's a reason why he's being pushed to have to be in a real traditional style relationship with her. And he happens to find her at a point in her life, the first point in her life ever, where she's like, I don't even know if I want that. And so when she meets him and she sees that he's so totally drastically different from what she thinks that she wants, her initial thought is, oh, well, I'm not going to take this seriously. He's just cool for right now. And so that created this clash, of course, because he's resistant to, like, he doesn't want a traditional thing either. But like I said, he's being pushed to have to pursue that. So there's this tension where he's trying to pursue something he doesn't really even want to pursue, and she's resisting it because she's like, I don't even want that. And so it opened up this type of, like, interesting play between the characters that I wasn't even expecting initially, and that I wasn't even, like, I haven't even written anything like that before. Like, I've usually written where the woman definitely wants, I was pulling from my experience, like, she definitely wanted her forever, and she definitely wanted, so it was so interesting to kind of explore it in that way. And that's the reason why I'm just making this video after, like, a whole week of writing, because I've been diving into all of that, and it was a very exciting process. Like, I'm so excited to show you guys some clips of what I've been writing, and I will do that soon. Like I said, the writing process is fun, but it also can be healing, because I was able to explore my thoughts through writing about Nevaeh's thoughts. And even now I think about it, like, do I want marriage one day? Like, I've always, like I said, been the traditional person when it comes to that. A woman's supposed to do this, and a man is supposed to do this, and she's supposed, and my thoughts on that is a little different, because like I said, like, I'm somebody who, I like to go to yoga retreats and meditation things, and I might go, live as a monk for 30 days somewhere. What, I guess, is there like a montress or whatever like, I might go to explore, especially once my kids are older. I don't know what I would be doing. Like, sometimes I'm just like, when my kids are older, I might decide to go live in, I don't know, like Belize for like a year or something. Like, I want to be able to move around, experience different things. I'm a writer. I want to live in certain areas for a short amount of time. And So yeah, I mean, I don't want to be in anything that stops me from being able to live life out loud. So definitely I do say, yeah, of course, marriage one day would be awesome. It has to be the natural next step. You know, it has to be something that doesn't feel pressured or performative, or not because my timeline said so, which is different for me because I already have children, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, being someone that is like, oh, I genuinely love being around this person and I don't feel restricted in my life. And that's kind of where I place Nevaeh in this process of her own discovery of what she wanted from relationship. I wrote Nevaeh where she's similar to me in a lot of ways. She's not similar to me in some ways, but in certain ways she is. She's, like I said, she's been married, she's divorced, she has children. You know, she co-parents very well with her children's father. So she's at a point in her life where she's taking care of herself. So she wouldn't marry for money. You know, she wouldn't marry for stability or needing somebody to take care of her. She is not going to marry because she has to have kids, because she already has them. She's not marrying because of any reason, like other than this is somebody that she enjoys being around. And then she also has to consider certain things also, like, does this person, like, do my kids like this person? How's the interaction between them? How's the interaction with this person and my ex that I co-partner with? So she has all of these considerations, and she's at a point in her life where she's like, I don't even know if I want to consider that. I want to have fun. I just got out of this thing that wasn't great. And, you know, so it was really interesting being able to explore that through her and to see where she landed with that. Because I'm a person that free writes. Like, I don't think about what I'm writing while I'm writing it. It's just whatever comes out just goes. And then I think about it later when I'm reading it over and I'm like, whoa. So if you're a writer, I really, really, really urge you to do that. Like, just script. Don't even think about it. Don't think about if you use the right word or spell things right. Just get it out. And it's so interesting what ends up being the final product. I do want to end this video with saying that this is not to, like, I'm definitely not talking against marriage or getting married at all, because I think it's beautiful. I think when it's done right, I think it's beautiful. I think it's the goal. Like, I think everybody's goal is to be with someone and love them enough that you want to be with them for life, and also know that they feel the same way about you. Like, for it to be equal on both ends and have that level of commitment and love, but also a level of respect and honor and freedom, to where and you don't feel like you're becoming like a lesser version of yourself, or you're compromising who you are to be in the relationship. So that's all I'm saying, is that I really was just making this video to discuss the way that things can kind of change as you go through life, how to be okay with that and open to that and accept that through having a detached way of thinking about things, where you're just like, God, you know, you're telling God, like, life is great, I love life, and I'm open to however you present me with things in order for me to experience it. With the caveat, like I said, that you're using discernment with the things that come your way, because not everything that comes your way is for you. And you have to be able to be like, no, that's not it. So yeah, as long as you're operating in your truth, like, whatever you choose is awesome. Just make sure it feels true to you. And then if you're not sure about it, write about it, because that's the best way to kind of explore all of your options and kind of get a feeling of what feels right without being in it. So if any of this hits home for you, and if you want to continue writing with me or taking a look into my writing process, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and drop a comment if you have anything that you want to add to this, or just to share your story, because I'm always so eager to hear the experiences and stories of others. Like, that's where I get the best inspiration for new material. So as long as you're okay with me, like, learning and living and learning to love through what you have to offer, please feel free to engage with me on that level. And let me know, like, what relationship style are you rethinking right now, if you are rethinking any, and if you've explored different styles. That is something I would love to speak to someone about. I have lots of questions, but yeah, don't forget to check out my latest blog post that is about the law of detachment. It goes even deeper to how you can kind of shift everything to allow your manifestations in without being so stuck on how they have to happen that you're suffocating them before they even have the time to happen. With that said, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure that you join my mailing list so you'll see the sneak peeks that I'll be dropping about my next series, Fallen Sons of God. And until next time, peace. You do not want to miss the next video, I promise. So please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more.